Guys, welcome back to another AspieWorld live video. Today, I'm interviewing a good friend of mine. This is Thomas. He is an influencer as well. We've got various different social media channels, and this guy populates my TikTok feed, like, seriously. All I see is his videos on TikTok. So without further ado, Thomas, what's going on?
Well, quite a lot lately.
Loaded question. Okay.
Yeah. But I'm good. Good. It's nice. It's been nice and sunny lately, hasn't it? So
it's been lovely. Yeah, it's good. I'm gonna go for a run in a bit, and since it's nice and sunny and hot, I'm gonna burn to a crisp. Now I'll put on some scent on the shoe. But yeah, it is really good. I really enjoy the sunshine. So, do you want to give my audience a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Thomas. I run the Asperger's Growth YouTube channel, Instagram page, and also the 40 Auti podcast, which is, everything that I tend to do is around autism and mental health. So, I quite like to take bits from each of them because it's quite a highly linked think that those two bubbles are quite highly linked. And,
yeah.
So I do stuff like public speaking. I do a lot of different things. Usually not the best at any of them, but
modeling as well. I saw you modeling for Harvey Price's new range in London.
Yeah, that was really cool. I actually linked up with one of the people from the Autism show in Manchester, called Alex Heron.
Yeah,
who's like a photographer for Vogue. She's doing like this project called like Breadth, spanning the spectrum, where she kind of goes around and takes pictures and gets testimonials and stuff.
Wow, dude, that's fire, dude. You're doing a lot, man. I love it. So, it's funny. Like most of the like autism kind of advocates and kind of like YouTubers, or if you want to call them social media influencers, don't mind. By the way, what I'm doing is I'm sending up my merch. Like people buy merch, and this is my life, guide. I have a multitask because I don't have anybody in house. I need to have like an intern or something. But yeah, most of the advocates and stuff like that, they're all like American or like Canadian, and so it's really nice to see someone like yourself who's in the UK and stuff like that. So talk to me. I mean, I know you talk about mental health and autism. So what kind of topics do you cover? And I want to talk a little bit about why those topics are important, because we've spoken before. We had like an initial meet and greet. Gosh, it was like about a month ago, wasn't it?
Yeah. We also had a little chat at the Autism show.
We did.
Very brief one.
Very brief one, yeah. I was a bit flustered. I'd just done a talk. You walked in and it was like, okay, guys, see you later. So you just missed it. That was really good fun.
I was so annoyed. I was talking to my girlfriend like the entire night before. I was like, we need to get up for this time, and I did my presentation the previous day.
Yeah.
My head was like in full on meltdown mode. So
yeah, this is why I pulled out of London yesterday or Saturday, because I was like, there's no way. Are you in Birmingham on Saturday?
No, I'm not. I was only asked to do the Manchester one.
Okay. Yeah, I'm in London with Purple Ella on... No, not in Birmingham with Purple Ella and Connor and everybody else on Saturday.
Yeah,
yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah, that was really, really cool. She's really cool. I've known her for a very long time now. It was really good. I actually helped her give loads of tips on how to optimize content for YouTube. It was really, really cool. So Thomas, let's get back to your content. What kind of topics do you cover? Like, what's your main kind of bulk of 4 topics you cover?
Sure. Well, I tend to do a lot of stuff around sort of theory crafting. I tend to cover topics which would be considered quite controversial by a lot of other autism advocates that I talk to. Things like talking about masking and where the lines are with things, and sort of taking the focus away from the language and sort of putting it on the quality of life statistics that autistic people have, like social isolation, bullying, severe mental health, things of that nature. But I also do a lot of stuff which is very neurotypical focused. So I try to help parents and help people who don't know a lot about autism.
Like an education thing, right? or re-education program.
Mm. But also recently about dating as well, which I've seen to be quite a hot thing.
It's huge, huge. Do you know what's funny? Like, talk about like life expectancy or people on the autism spectrum. I was reading, I think it was a paper published, and they were talking about saying how the average lifespan of people on the lower end of the autism spectrum, as in like they have high support needs, is about anywhere between, I don't know, 30 and 40, which is really low, right? And then
minus 20 odd years, isn't it?
yeah, and then the people who are like ours, who have like a lower support needs, or at least used to be high functioning or Asperger's, between 50 and 60, which isn't that much different really. And it's all down to a few different things, and this is fascinating. I mean, a huge chunk of that is mental health, right? So you have a lot of suicides, and you have a lot of kind of like, depression that leads into drinking, and then those kind of problems. But then you also have the flip side, is you have this lack of nutritional information or lack of nutritional input into the body, because autistic people can be picky eaters, and it makes it very difficult to have quite a balanced lifestyle. And if you're deficient in things for a prolonged period of time, it could cause quite, in the long term, will be just quite destructive to your body and obviously shorten your lifespan. So it was really, really fascinating looking at this stuff. But the suicide thing was such a big kind of chunk, and sad, because I feel like that's why it's important. Like, the work you're doing is important because it needs to be said, because people don't know if they should reach out or not. I mean, suicide is a huge thing as well. Within males, it's huge. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why. Like, what's
autistic men? It's just men in general. Just
yeah, and it's
85% of suicides.
Yeah, and it's this whole kind of like there's this assigned culture where men are just kind of like, yeah, get on with it, man. Dudes would spit and shoot guns, and like everyone expects a guy to just get on with stuff, But I feel like it's kind of like that buckaroo type of thing, you can only put so many things on before he kicks back, and I guess that's where a lot of people who are on the autism spectrum,
a lot of hate, a lot of like every social situation that I tend to enter nowadays, I get instantly labeled as a white cisgendered male, and basically verbally abused just for
being you, just for being alive. that is a huge one. Yeah, the balance has been completely flipped the other way, and now we have a radicalized formation of an identity, which is really interesting, because like you have, to acknowledge white privilege, like in that respect, you go, okay, I can acknowledge white privilege. I get it. We are fortunate, and like, not even that, but just like geological privilege. Like, I was born in the United Kingdom. We have great freedoms here, and I'm so thankful. And I thank God every single day for those blessings that I've been thrust upon. But we shouldn't be made to feel guilty for those things, I think, and that does start an inherent self destruction mode, and then it kind of does lead on.
The funny thing is that I used to, when stuff like that happened, I used to say, okay, look, this is my physicality, but I'm also autistic.
Yeah.
I'm also 1-2% of the population, a very what would you say? A very undersupported section of
minority
society. But just a moment, like I kind of got to a point where I was like, do I really need to do this? Can I not just turn up? And like, most of my friends are female. Most of my friends are not straight for some bizarre reason. I think I've got like one or two straight friends, and like not that that's like my saving grace or anything, but it just it boggles me sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, it is super interesting. But like, okay, so I got a question. What is the process for you to create content? How do you come up with the ideas and the topics that you want to talk about?
I think, I just, what I did at the start of me doing my creating and starting YouTube is that I just observed things in my everyday life with other people, what people were telling me about autism.
Yeah.
And then sort of looked into it and researched like a bit, and then gave my own sort of take or opinion on a variety of different things. I'd create YouTube videos and podcasts, and then I'd around about now I started chopping them up because you introduced me to that lovely
program.
Software.
Yeah.
But,
it's good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really, really, really helpful. But I think it's I'm a very natural sort of writer, and I like to write, get my thoughts out onto paper. So it's quite calming. It's quite good anxiety relief for me to kind of get all my thoughts out there and wind down for the evening kind of thing.
Yeah, it's almost like a therapy, right? And it's interesting because I feel I'm super hyped up all the time. I have ADHD, the hyperactive type, and I bounce off the walls constantly. And with yourself, you're such a chill, relaxed person. It kind of allows for a more intense focus of the type of content that you will be producing. So that it's going to be very detailed and very concise. I do kind of quite snippety, very shaving off the top.
You're so good at doing that. My brain is I just can't do it.
No, that's what I mean. But I mean, it's important because, I can't do the way you do it, and so it's quite, it's to me, like being a content creator and having this varied amount of creators, what's important for everybody to do what they're doing, because if we just had me, or if we just had you, or we just had Ella, it would be kind of well, it's not going to be fitting for everybody, right? And I think that's why we all have a place in this community, and it's all important that we do that because, we're trying to spread the information. So here's a question: what kind of world do you want to see? What's your vision?
I want to see a world where I don't have to worry about having an autistic child, about exposing them to all of the things that I've experienced and having to deal with the consequences of them.
Interesting.
Like the workplace and employment, education, also in the media, accurate sort of representation, and in I suppose in relationships as well. For being able to find someone that you love and someone that you want to spend your life with. I think it's very, it's all of those quality of life, things that are really.
But it's the focus of society, though, isn't it? It's how do you perpetuate a society? Well, you implement those things, family values, a procreational attempt or an effort to keep a survival rate of a species alive. And we've actually, and it's funny, humans are breeding less and less. So we have, we're down less than people were. I mean, they've got the lowest reproduction rate ever in the history of the planet, which is lower than the 1920s, where it was really low because you had the influenza outbreak and stuff like that, and then you had the Great Depression. So yeah, we're at a really all-time low of procreation, which is really interesting because we're told that we're consuming more and more because there's so many people on the planet, when in actual fact there's less people probably being born daily. So when you have this kind of death toll keeps rising because more and more people keep dying, it will balance itself out. But I don't know. See, that's the thing. I don't know if it's a balance in the planet or whatever, but it's super interesting. So, Thomas, tell us a little bit about what have you got coming up? What are the cool things that you're planning on doing, or you are doing? Just shoot it.
Well, I think the biggest thing at the moment for me is the podcast. So I've started editing my first podcast episode with Temple Grandin, who's very kindly came on to talk to me for an hour and 40 minutes.
Yes, she's a friend of mine, and she does like to talk.
She does.
She talk about cows and children growing up and jobs. Yeah.
Yep. So there's that, and I'm also trying to, at the moment I'm preparing for my knee operation, which I'm going to have an ACL reconstruction.
Goodness.
Which is a bit scary. So, I'm trying to
prepare yourself
hard on the whole social media,
sure,
YouTube stuff until that's over, I think.
Get some recovery in place, and then
Yeah. But
just
after that, possibly go back into sport, maybe.
cool.
Whether it's Muay Thai or Taekwondo, I think those are the two. The two
Taekwondo is
I
good.
would shoot for.
Yeah, sounds good, dude. I guess like it's mental health as well at the end of the day. So if you keep yourself kind of like really level-headed, and I think things like that really help. There's an article released that I've just done a video on. It's not out yet, but it will be, where they were talking about how drumming for about 90 minutes a day helps autistic people reduce a lot of their issues. It's not a cure or anything like that. Please don't get me, wrong here. But it was really interesting.
Sensory,
Yes,
old sensory stimulus.
it's a proprioception activator, right? And that had for 90 minutes, it then had a profound long-term effect. And I found that just really, really interesting. But I'm a drummer as well. But I think that the idea is that it's physical exercise. So I was like, now I have to play my drums set every day for 90 minutes. But it's not that. It's kind of more what kind of activity could you input into a sensory diet, which is something I talk about in my course, actually. But, and the sensory diet is all kind of like, it's very proprioception, based and getting that deep muscle kind of like activity going. So helps with senses. Very interesting. But I think that Taekwondo is a great way because they're going to keep you in real good check. So I just hope that operation goes smoothly for you. I know it will. I know.
Well, me too.
Jesus.
They're going to be taking one of my tendons out and from the back of my hamstring and getting rid of the ligament and then stretching it over and attaching it to... It sounds more gruesome than it is. It's a very common surgery, so...
Yeah, I was going to say it's quite common. It's not the most extensive thing, but it will be a recovery based. You got to be on it with recovery, right? So that it doesn't like tighten up, and because like fascia, it covers every part of your body, right? And so it's going to be that's going to tighten up. So you got to kind of really, really be on it. But yeah, I'm no biologist, but I do know some things. Dude, it's been awesome. I have one last question. How did you get into wanting to create content? What was the aim there?
It's a long story. I think it just to sort of concise it down a bit. I think I started because I was very socially isolated and alone, and it was only until my early 20s that I started to really understand what autism was and how it affected my interactions with people. And because I sort of moved to university around that time, and I had to actively go out and make friends and do all of this stuff.
Yeah.
Typical
student life.
I started with the idea that I just wanted to share my story, share what I found difficult, share what I found good. But over time, learning more about it from different arenas, from teaching, from science, from the community, from philosophy and psychology, it gave me some insight, and I started to work on myself very, very intensely for a number of years. And I got to a point where I was, despite having these quite severe mental health conditions, I can go about life and live how I want to and feel confident, and generally it's a massive source of well-being and a big anchor for me, going out and trying to help people.
I think sharing your story is so impactful because you are the only person who are you, and I think those the stories that you have, because they're so unique, somebody else will relate to those stories, and so to have that kind of like relatability is really important. And I think most people forget about that when they're thinking about themselves because they feel like they are isolated, right? But until they start sharing, it comes down to that old thing, a problem shared is a problem halved, but also works the other way. A problem heard that relates to you is another problem halved, right? So I think that's super important. So Thomas, where can my viewers find you online? I'll leave all the links in the description down below, but I'd love for you to just tell us where they can find you.
So you can find me on my website, thomashanley.co.uk, as well as chiefly my Instagram, Asperger's Growth, the YouTube channel, Asperger's Growth, and also the podcast, which is the 40 Auti podcast. it's not the easiest to spell, so you might need to go down to the links, people.
Definitely go to the links. I will leave a link for everything in the show notes and also in the description of these videos because they're on social media as well. Thomas, it's been an absolute pleasure having to spend some more time with you. I feel like I've seen a lot of you over the past month, which is great. You know, the more the merrier. So thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. And I'll see you soon, probably, no doubt.